And now,
ladies and gentlemen,
please fasten your seatbelts.
Welcome to PreneurCast.
Yeah, business cards being swapped, beers being drunk.
Can I say a nasty word? Can I say procrastination?
With Pete Williams and Dom Gosher.
How well did that go down?
We can talk about that entire thing in a very another rant and soapbox episode if we want to.
Visit us online at preneurmedia.tv.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's PreneurCast with me, Dom Goucher, and sadly without Pete for another week. He'll be back next week. He's still away at the moment. I've got a great interview again for you this week from Robyn Logan, who is the CEO of International Coach Academy. I interviewed her earlier this week and we had a chat about coaching and how coaching can help businesses, business people, entrepreneurs get more out of their business by achieving their goals. One of the great things about the call with Robyn was that in it she talks not only about what coaches are and how they can help, but she shares some actual real-world techniques, what they call power tools, that coaches that are trained at the International Coach Academy use with their clients to help them achieve their goals. And these are great because they actually map directly to a lot of the things that Pete and I have talked about in previous episodes. So I'm going to get straight into the interview now. Hopefully you enjoy it as much as I did, and I'll catch up with you at the end. Hi Robyn, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, hi Dom, how are you?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. I won't talk about the weather because it's a rule we have on the podcast, but you're down there quite close to Pete, actually, in Melbourne way, aren't you?
I am, and it's a shame that you don't want to talk about the weather because we had a really big storm tonight. So this is actually one example where you could talk about the weather.
Maybe I'll let you get away with that one, but maybe we'll just get on with it. Otherwise, I'll get in trouble with Pete for letting the guests run riot. Okay, Robyn, really, I appreciate you coming on the call this week. We're going to talk about coaching because I've been interested in coaching for some time. It's one of those things that you hear about, and people say, "Oh, but coaching's becoming really popular," and so on. But there's not. I don't really know a lot about it, and you, I would say, are somewhat of an expert, given who you are and what you do. So it's great that you're on the call. Can we just start? What is coaching? Who's it for? What's it for? Can you give us a succinct answer to that?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. And in fact, we have an entire module devoted just to that question. So without going into the full-length explanation, I think, very simply, coaching is a methodology. For me, it's a method. It's a way of doing something. And it's mostly used to either create change or achieve a particular outcome. So, individuals use it for all sorts of things. Maybe they want to change their jobs, or they want to change their relationships, or they want to start a business, or they want to be a better parent. There's a range of things that a person can use it for. And then, of course, companies use coaching a lot, executive coaching, business coaching. Same thing. They want to increase performance or get a particular outcome that they don't have. So I guess that's the summary. But, the term actually is sort of bandied around a lot and is used by a lot of people. So for us, being a coaching school, teaching coaching, we like to be really specific about it. And I guess, one of the ways to be specific and understand that is to compare it to what coaching is not. In fact, maybe that's even a better question. So do you want me to talk for a little bit about what coaching is not?
Yeah, I mean, it's important, I think, to put this in as Pete likes to do, put it in a frame and give people a context about what we're talking about. And sometimes what something isn't, what something is not, is a good way to do that. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I reckon it is. So, well, first of all, it's not therapy. And this is a good distinction to make. So, what's the difference between coaching and therapy? Usually, therapy is perhaps a little bit more concerned with the past than coaching is. Coaching doesn't really care why you behave in a certain way or what your mother did or what your father did or whatever. It's more concerned about where are you now, where do you want to be, and how can we get you there. So that's one thing it's not. And we have this sort of little quaint saying in our school, which is, and this means, I mean, no disrespect to therapists or counsellors out there, but, if you've broken your leg, you go see a counsellor and get it fixed. But if you want to run the 4-minute mile, get a coach. So that's one little example of the difference.
I like that because this speaks a little bit to Pete's experiences with his Ironman triathlon. And he got a specific a sports coach, somebody to help him get from where he was, which was nowhere near the couch, but certainly nowhere near Ironman fitness, right the way up to competing quite effectively in the Ironman. So that's a good metaphor there.
Totally. He didn't get a physiotherapist, or he might have done that as well, but to really keep him on track and keep him accountable, to keep him motivated, these are all the things coaches do. The sports coaching analogy is a really good one. Often I use that to explain it to people. Just think about what a fitness coach or a sports coach does for you. Well, that's what they can do for your life or your business.
So to bring this back to the listeners of our podcast, I mean, people that listen to this podcast are predominantly they're entrepreneurial, they're business people. They either own a business, run a business, work in a business, want to start a business. How can coaching help that kind of person? Because I think that's the thing, that's the disconnect for a lot of people. A lot of people have got that misunderstanding that coaching is a bit like therapy. And you've cleared that up, and it's more getting you from where you are to where you want to be. So have you got an example of how coaching could help somebody, one of our listeners, really?
Well, I think getting a coach, if you're setting up a small business or any sort of business, I think getting a coach is the best thing you can do, because it can often be quite lonely setting up a business. You are the main person. You don't have a big team of colleagues around you. So a coach is sort of can act like your board of management, if you like. And, there's someone who's always going to be an objective voice in your life. They're not going to be like your partner or your family, or people who either tell you what you do want to hear or don't tell you what they think you don't want to hear. Your coach is going to be real with you and say, listen, Dom, I'm observing, you tell me that you want to achieve this. You tell me that you want to have, 20 clients a week. And really leverage your time, but I see you driving across town an hour to meet with each client. So these things, are not gelling. What's going on here? So a coach will really be straight with you. A coach will, take your vision for your business or whatever it is you want to achieve and hold it just a little bit higher than you would, yourself. They really will motivate you and encourage you and keep you accountable. I don't know why this is, but for some reason as human beings, if we tell someone else we're going to do something, we're more likely to do it than if you just tell yourself you're going to do it.
Absolutely. And this is great. And this is really, I guess, why I wanted you to come on the call, because if I just go over what you've just talked through, our coach is all these things. All those things are all topics that Pete and I have discussed in the past 40 or so episodes of PreneurCast. Accountability, a kind of a mentoring or a mastermind thing, getting support, getting feedback, just and setting goals and working towards them and staying on track, and all those things are wrapped up in a coach.
Yeah. Totally, and this is back to what coaching is not. You can get a lot of those things from a business advisor or a consultant, a business consultant or a business mentor. And this is the slight distinction with coaching, is that it's a very client-centered methodology, if you like. So, a business consultant or mentor will say, well, so Dom, what sort of business are you wanting to set up? Oh, you want to set up, you wanted to manufacture coffee cups. So a consultant will say, well, this is how you should do it. Here's the solution. I've done it before. It looks like this. Here are the steps. Or, a business trainer, or you could go and get training. They will teach you how to do it. But what a coach is going to do is really look to you, ask you powerful questions. I mean, this is one of the key skills of a coach, is they know how to ask a powerful question that will mean that you come up with your own answers. And then, it's not that they don't ever give advice. Sometimes it makes perfect sense to say, would you be interested in my experience of this? I've actually done this before. That makes perfect sense. But that's not their driving intent. The driving intent of a coach is to really help you work out, what it is that you're wanting to do, what business do you want to run, how should it look, and how do you think the best way would be to achieve that, and then to support you. And it might be that the coach will say, well, it sounds like you need a bit of training. Maybe you should go off and get that. But really they're working with you for you to create your own path. And, this is one of the reasons I got into coaching after years of being in consulting and training. And just to segue off for a bit, but the way I got in, I was doing corporate training in companies like Holden and some, big blue chip companies. And I'd go in and deliver this fantastic training. And then I'd do an evaluation 3 months later. And what I discovered is that not much had changed. But I knew the trainers were good and I knew the curriculum was good. But what was happening is it just had no meaning to the actual, to the people, to the students. So I implemented this thing called coaching where each week they had to come up with how that skill or whatever it was that they were learning impacted on their life. In fact, I didn't even call it coaching. I called it authentic learning initially, because it really is that thing. It's not even really rocket science, but unless something has meaning to you or is something like that you deeply care about or you have a connection to, you're not going to achieve it if it's someone else's idea or someone else's plan.
Definitely. I can really appreciate that, and it's a really good example. I really like that you've made that clear distinction between the consultant and the coach, because again, a lot of people might have had experience with consultants or might have more of an understanding of that idea that I want to know how to set up a business, as you say, selling coffee cups. So they go look for somebody who's already done it, and that would be a piece of advice that Pete and I might have given, in that you go and find an expert. You go and find an expert, and you ask them to help you with the things you don't know how to do. And a lot of people are okay with that. A lot of people have that clear in their mind. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to go. But the one thing I think that people really don't know how to do is the thing that the coach can help with, and that is that making sure all the lessons sink in, making sure that you take action on the thing that you've learned, making sure that you are on the right track, you're going the right way, you're doing the thing that's right for you, and all those things. And you mentioned this idea of powerful questions. And you said you got this, like, the coaches use this. It's a common tool. Are there tools, as you call them, techniques that coaches use that maybe might map to somebody helping themselves to start with, to just get an idea of what coaching might be and how it can help them, without having to go all out and go find a coach? No, there are heaps actually, and we have a whole lot of, we call them coaching power tools that we teach our students, because we teach people who are becoming coaches. So in essence, we're teaching them the tools they need to coach other people. And these power tools are just very effective, powerful ways to think about life that are more likely to create a positive outcome than a negative outcome. And, really they can be used. I mean, we probably should rename them coaching power tools for life and business or something like that, because pretty much anyone can use them. You could use them to be a better parent. You could use them to be a better business person, better teacher. Anyway, so we have a stack of them. I think, the ones that are probably the most useful to people setting up businesses, one of the great ones is responsibility versus blame. We teach this one a lot, and we find also in companies this works really well, because, I mean, how many people do you know that are just stuck in that blame mode, and particularly trying to either set up a new business or create the business that you've got into a more successful, profitable business? You know the sort of people. There's people where they're always blaming something or somebody else. Maybe it's,
I don't know, the staff are no good, or, well, their market, the competition, or, I mean, a classic is all the export companies in Australia, and I know that because we were one of them, or we are one of them. We have most of our clients come from, I think about 4% of our clients come from Australia, the rest are from around the world. So when the US-Australian dollar did its little dance, and, it was a massive loss of revenue to a lot of export companies in Australia. Now, you can blame the dollar for that. You can blame the US. You can blame the Australian dollar. You can blame whatever. But it's never going to get you anywhere doing that. And, in fact, actually what it does, the thing about blame, is that every time you blame something or someone else, you're actually saying, I'm not a very powerful person. I have no ability to change or create my situation. My life is in the hands of others or in the hands of my environment. So this whole responsibility thing, is a great way to actually take charge of your life and your business. So we use that a lot, and we have a little technique that we use, which is we invite clients to, if they're stuck in the blame game, invite them to take 100% responsibility for that situation. So we're not saying it's true. Clearly, I'm not 100% responsible for my business. Like, these events did occur. But just to use it as a tool, a way of thinking, imagine what if you were 100% responsible right now for the situation you find yourself in or your business is in. If you were 100% responsible for it, what would you do? So you can see that leads you into a more powerful path of action.
Yeah, the example that leaps immediately to mind, and this is something that Pete and I have discussed on a number of episodes in the past, is outsourcing. And we hear this all the time. My outsourcers are terrible. My outsourcers failed to do this thing, etc., etc., etc. And I would love just this one power tool. If everybody could go away and sit down and say, did I do everything I could do? Is it really the fault of my outsourcer that they didn't do what they should have done? Did I really give them clear instructions? Did I really give them a clear time frame? Did I really give them all the resources they needed to do the job properly, etc., etc.? So that's a great one. Just the first one of your 7 is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, no, it's really good. And the other way to look at it is, whatever you have in your life now is what you allow to be in your life now. So if that outsource is driving you crazy, then, take responsibility for it. And what would you do to make that not happen? That is a classic one, the blaming the outsourcer. I must even admit I might have done it myself on occasion.
I think everyone's done that. But everyone has done, as you said, the first one you chose is one of the biggest ones, because I think everybody does. Everybody says, especially in business, it's that way because of this, or I can't because of that, or that kind of thing. And it's a lot of it, as you say, is you called it the blame game, and that's right. So that's a great thing for people.
The other thing I hate about it, I just have a personal thing against the whole victim mentality. I can't stand being a victim, and I really find it uncomfortable being around people who have that victim thing going on. And really, that's what blame is.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it is quite a distinctive thing when you meet somebody who talks that way. So that's a really good place to start. What about other tools? Is there anything moving on from there?
So what else? Another good one is commitment versus trying. This is a good one because, likewise, we all know people who try. They're always trying to. I'm really trying to get this business up off the ground. I'm really trying to. I really don't want to. I want to leave my day job. But first I've just got to get some income from this business. So I'm just trying to get this happen. And I'm trying to get some staff, and I'm trying to get the website up. And so, what we teach is that there is actually no such thing as trying. And actually, isn't there that I've forgotten it, that Star Wars character?
Oh, I really didn't want to say that because I thought you'd be mortally offended if I did. But yeah, Yoda in Star Wars. That's the first thing that jumped in my mind. The famous quote for the geeks like me: "Do or do not. There is no try."
Yeah, that's it. Do or do not. There is no try. I love that. There's other ways of saying it which involve a pot, but we won't talk about that either.
Yeah, and even for the quite colourful Australian that you are, I think we might pass on that one. But you're absolutely right. There's trying and there's doing.
Yeah.
Again, amazing how it maps into what we talk about. So sorry, I interrupted there. Please carry on.
No, well, I mean, it's a good one. And once again, this is an entire module for us, and it can get quite, we even go into what your underlying commitments are, the ones you don't even really know you're committed to, which is probably for another day. But this one essentially is about the fact that at any given time, we are all committed to something. And the way to tell what you're committed to in your life is just to look at your life and see what's in your life. So, what's an example? Well, the example I touched on before. I have a friend who's got a business building websites for people, and she got a client today. And she was talking on the phone. She's like, I've got to go anyway. I've got to go see this client over in Montrose, which is like about an hour in peak hour traffic at 5 o'clock. And I'm like, you're mad. What are you driving all the way over there for? It's a website. Just tell them you'll do the call on the phone. And this is a perfect example. I know that she wants to have more clients and spend less time driving around town. And we've talked about it before, that it can be done. You say to the client, look, absolutely, I get that you want to meet, but why don't we just do the initial consultation on the phone and see how we go? And then, of course, after the first hour, you can pretty much say, look, I reckon I could just build that website for you and maybe we don't need to meet. So there are ways, if you're committed, if you're 100% committed to not getting in your car, like imagine you didn't have a car, imagine you couldn't drive. That's what 100% committed to not getting in your car is. And so what was going on for my friend is actually, I mean, you have to sit and have a think about it, and each person, it's up to yourself to think what your thing is. But for her, she said she's more committed to pleasing that client than to creating profit in her business. In that moment, she was more committed to pleasing that client and to being nice and good and doing the right thing and not disappointing than to actually getting profit.
Yeah, that's quite a common thing as well for people in business, especially people in small business or working on their own, self-employed people. That is quite common, that people don't want to upset potential clients. And Pete and I have talked about this a little bit, and it's both on and offline. The idea that most of us really genuinely, as you said, you need to know what it is you're committed to and what you really want. Most of us really genuinely actually want to work with people that want to work our way. We don't want to work with people that want us to do things we don't want to do, but we do.
Yeah.
And so it's from the trying to grow your business and trying to focus on your own goals. It is one thing, but being committed to it. And as you say, a good example is, imagine you don't have that car. Imagine you can't make that trip. What would you do? Which is a great way to look at it. Another way of looking at trying versus commitment for me, when I was younger, a lot of people around me, and this applies obviously if we've got any people that, well, it's not difficult to have people younger than me listening to the show, but there's a lot of time spent in our lives, with watching television or playing on video games or whatever. And I don't want to be the old man moaning about these things, but if you want to succeed, you've only got so many hours in the day. And if that thing that you said you were going to do didn't get done today, what was it that you did instead? Because you did do something. And you have to look at, and you say you have to look at your commitments. Did you sit and play Xbox for an hour? Or did you spend an hour writing the copy for the website, for example, that you said you were going to do?
And it's fine if you did play the Xbox. That just means that's what you're committed to. Yeah. Because I think the worst situation to be in is to be in that place of trying. And, often what, we do with clients is, just think of something that you're trying to do a lot. but not able to do. Well, I mean, exercise is a good one. People always want to exercise more. So they have to get up at 7 a.m. to go and exercise, but actually they stay in bed sleeping. So the thing here is that you're actually committed to sleep more than you are to exercise. Now, that's okay. So the point then is to actually acknowledge that and go, okay, that's what I'm committed to right now in my life, and go with it. You know, the not powerful way to be is just to be constantly trying to do something.
Definitely. I mean, I can speak to this myself in the past, that I've come across quite a deal of tension in my life when, as you say, you've not identified that the true commitment. There's been a couple of times in my life in the past where I've been in a situation where I've been trying to do something, and in fact, I'd have been better off not trying. I'd have been better off admitting I didn't want to do it, or that I wasn't going to do it right now, instead of trying and exhausting myself or getting into stress or tension or whatever. Just admitting, hey, you know, I'm not going to do it right now. Maybe I'll, you know, and maybe allocating time to it next week, and allocating the time this week to something that I am committed to.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, you've touched on something else there that coaches do a lot, is work with clients on, you know, it's not an easy thing to work out what you are committed to. And sometimes sometimes you're actually trying to do things for not the right reasons. And so just to take a moment out and work out, well, hang on. I mean, it's always a good measure to me. If I'm trying to do something and I've tried a few times, or over a period of time, I keep talking about it but never happens, that raises a red flag to me. So I stop and then ask myself, okay, do I actually really want to do this? Is there another reason that I am doing this that's not actually something deep within me that I want to do? And often you'll find, actually I don't even want to do it. Let's just stop.
Yeah, and that applies to a lot of things, including something that again, Pete and I have talked about, but including whether or not you want to keep that particular client.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah, that's a big one where you constantly are kind of, I don't want to open that email from that person, or it's another one of those, or it's another job like that, or you know, I think again that's something that's very common with people, and maps back to that not wanting to offend clients. But
no, that's a really good example of that one, because to me that's about working out what your standards or expectations are with working with clients, and then being committed to those. And the thing about commitment versus trying for it to work, there actually has to be no judgment. So you need to be able to do this without judging. It's not bad or wrong to not be doing the thing that you've been trying to do. It just isn't what you're committed to. So the same applies to clients. It's not bad or wrong to not either be able to or want to work with that particular client. It's just that you've sat down, you've worked out what your key requirements are, your expectations are, the way you want to work with clients, and it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. And a really good way to language that is, you know, this does not work for me. Not it's not right or it's not wrong or it's, you know, you're an idiot or whatever. It's just, here's the way I work, and that particular thing, that doesn't actually work for me. So how should we go forward with that?
Yeah, and in a separate show, Pete and I have talked about that and how you might want to raise that topic with the client. You know, there's positive ways to handle that.
Yeah.
So that's great. So that's commitment versus trying. Any other tools that you've got?
Well, it sounds like these are all crossing over lots of things
It's
talk about.
great. It really. This is, as I said, this is why I wanted to kind of have you on a call, because I could see this potential in the little bit that I did know about coaching, but so far we're really just hitting all the topics. You know, I think hopefully people have stuck with this episode, because if you just look at the title and, you know, whatever the title I decide is going to be later on, people might run screaming for the hills, going, "Oh no, wheelie, it's all going to be touchy feely and all. How are you feeling about your father?" type stuff, and as you say, all the things that coaching actually isn't. And in fact, this is really helpful stuff for people in real life, in real business, doing real stuff. It's great. So yeah, pull another one out of the bag if you can.
Okay, well, the next one is a very practical, non-touchy-feely one, and honestly, it's so simple. It's called action versus delay. I mean, really, this is just the cornerstone of coaching, of all coaching. Pretty much, the idea here is any action is going to be good. Any action is better than delay. And once again, coaching is not really concerned with working out why, but often people procrastinate or delay doing things that they know are either in their best interest or that they need to do to get that website up or get that business happening. And so action versus delay is just simply about, after you've worked out your goal and your vision and you're clear on where you're going, just jot down a few actions and just take 3 of them a day. They don't have to be big, but, you know, it's a sort of a fundamental thing that in order to achieve any goal or to succeed, you must actually be willing and able to take action persistently and consistently.
Absolutely. And first of all, this is, again, once you've identified those actions, which is something that a coach can help you with doing, also the coach can be there to help make sure you did them, which is handy. But again, action versus delay is something that Pete and I have talked about, and choosing those actions, those tasks, and making it easy was actually the last thing that a couple of shows ago that I talked to Pete about. But if anybody who's listened to the show knows that I have 2 favourite phrases on this topic. One is done is better than none. Because there's a lot of people out there with none. There's a lot of people out there with blank websites, big holes where articles should be, whatever it is. You know, some action moving forward, even if it's writing the title of the article or looking for an outsourcer to build the website for you, that's an action that you can take towards getting that thing done. So done is definitely better than none. But the other thing, and I know you and I have briefly spoken about this when we first talked, is my all-time favourite little acronym, which is JFDI.
Are you going to explain that one?
Well, I think people can maybe work that one out, but it's got just do it in there somewhere. I actually think we should have PreneurCast mugs made and T-shirts with JFDI on them, because it really does embody that thing, as you said. Take action and take action consistently is the way to succeed.
I totally agree, and that's one of the valuable things that you've taught me is this whole concept of the minimum viable product, and that's a classic one for action versus delay. Just figure out what's the smallest, fastest thing you can do along the path to the big, huge thing you want to do, and just do it.
Yeah, that is a very common thing, and Pete and I have talked about this on a number of occasions. The most common thing for people when they're stuck in this delay is that they see whatever it is as a huge obstacle, and they don't break it down. This is why a couple of episodes ago, Pete and I talked about this, because you can break anything down into chunks, whether you don't think that you can do it all in one go, or you don't think you can do it all today, or you don't think you can do it at all, or you don't think you can find anybody else to do it. You can always break it down into actions that you can take towards getting that thing done. As you say, minimum viable product. If you're trying to build the next eBay, you've got a big job on your hands. But there are steps towards that and things you can implement today that will mean that next year and the year after you can build on that foundation. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, the other thing is to look at what causes a delay, but that would be a whole other episode as well. But, it can be fear, it can be some sort of, limiting belief, or it could be you're just actually not committed to the thing you say you were going to do.
I was just about to say that.
People don't take action. But the other little nice little thing we teach our coaches is this little analogy about the 2 dogs. Have you heard this one, the bad dog and the good dog?
No, I don't think I have.
The bad dog is mean and angry. I think it's a Native American fable or story. Inside of me there are 2 dogs. The bad dog is mean and angry. The good dog is good and kind. The bad dog fights the good dog all day. So when asked which dog wins, the person in the story says, well, actually, the one I feed the most. And this is so true. I mean, it's true with everything, but it's really true with action versus delay. If you delay something and you give your energy to that, or you feed that delay through all sorts of things, you can feed delay through stories about why you'll never succeed, excuses, blaming others, all sorts of things. If you feed that, then it just creates more delay. But if you feed the action by just, even when you don't feel like it, by just simply taking 2 or 3 actions in the direction that you already know you're committed to, then that's the good dog. That's the dog that wins.
That is getting a little bit deep for me, but it's definitely. Sorry.
Do you want to see that in writing, Dom?
No. But you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a book I read a while ago, actually, a great book by Neil Fiore called The Now Habit.
Yeah.
And it's exactly on that topic. It's. You're right. If the more you look at something and that you feel that there's a delay in that thing, you put a delay into it, then it starts having a weight. It's still there on your mind. This is a major topic in the getting things done model that Pete and I talk about a lot. Just because you're not doing it, it's still on your mind that you're not doing it, and suddenly it has this power over you. Whereas just sitting down and doing something towards it, a little bit, chipping away at it, is a positive thing. And I like that story. I like the 2 dogs and the one that you feed the most. It does resonate with me. It's a great example.
It does always feel good just to do something. I mean, I do that myself. If I'm feeling a bit blah or down or whatever, I just go, okay, I'll just pick something that I can do, and I'll do that.
And it can be as simple as, you've got an email from somebody and it's got a long list of things to do, and you could just open the email and instead of looking at it and giving you a headache and you're closing it again and your inbox becoming full of things you should do, you could open the email and you could send a reply saying, hey, look, I've got your email, I'm reading through it, I'm working on it. Maybe it's maybe give a time outline, an estimate of time or something like that, but just acknowledge that you've got it and that you're doing something. That's an action in and of itself.
Yep.
That's great.
Definitely.
So again, yet another classic that maps directly to our audience. This is really good. You're doing well here.
I know. Well, look, the thing is, they're not really, it's not really rocket science, is it? These things, we almost already know them. And in a way, that's why a coach is a great thing, because a coach will work with you with these things to, honestly, I just would not be where I am today if I didn't have had many coaches in my life, from my very first business coach to, my mastermind groups to all sorts of different types of coaching. I just would never be without it, really.
And that's quite an interesting thing for you to say. That not only are you, what is your official title?
I'm the CEO of International Coach Academy. Surely there's some intro at the beginning of the podcast where you talk about how I run an online coach training school, training coaches all around the world, over 90 countries, etc.
Maybe I'll cut that bit out and slot it in at the front. You're giving all my secrets away. Stop it. But seriously, though, being the CEO of a coach training organisation, it's very interesting to hear you talk about how coaching has helped you, and that you have your own coaches, or have had in the past your own coaches, and what they've done for you. I think, but you did, you gave it different names, the mentoring and the as well as coaching, and all these things are a part of coaching. Really, it's a part mentoring and just helping you find these things out. That's what I'm getting.
In my experience as well, it's a bit of a generalisation, but coaching generally attracts people who are already a little bit successful. It's interesting. You generally find if someone's going, it's not cheap to get a good coach. And I'll never forget this conference I went to once in a room full of coaches, and the speaker It was the International Coach Federation conference, and the speaker stood up and said, hands up in this room if you have a coach. And about like 4 people out of 50, and these are coaches, put up their hands. And she just said, if you're not right now employing a coach and paying that coach just a little bit more than what you charge yourself, then you're not serious about coaching. And I've never forgotten it, and it's true, you know, and I've always paid my coaches just a little bit more than I can really afford to get the best coaching that I can get. And, you know, coaching's a great thing. I mean, the minute there's no value in it, you can just stop, right? So no one forces you to stay in that relationship. It has to be giving you value. And I can actually see monetary value that I get from my coaching. I can see results that I know wouldn't be there if I was left to my own human devices, sitting there in my delay and blaming the Australian US dollar or whatever.
But that's a really good example and a really good kind of tip if somebody wanted to get into a relationship, a coaching relationship, to work with a coach. It is that perspective that it is an investment. It's an investment in your success. It's going to help you. It's going to move you and therefore move your business forward. So you should invest in it seriously. It's not a, you know, you don't go skimping on it and looking for a cheap or even an inexpensive option. You look for the best you can get because it's that serious an investment in your future and the success of your business.
Yep.
So that's a good example.
That's what I think, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we're as usual getting close to time. Have you got 1 or maybe 2 more of these power tools that you could possibly squeeze in? I'm loving this. It's great. It's like somebody validating the entire history of this podcast in one call.
That's really good. Look, I've got heaps of them, but I think if I had to just pick, one to go out on, I'd probably go for lightness versus significance. This is a great one. And, you know, this is just basically about, I don't know, you could just call it get a grip, I guess. Or
That's better. I was getting worried it was getting a bit deep there with lightness versus significance. But much more in keeping, get a grip.
We used to call it game versus significance, but people sort of didn't quite understand that. We need a good word for lightness. The significance thing is great. But anyway, what that's about is really just don't get too significant about things. You know, people get really wound up or invested or attached to things happening a certain way, and they're never going to happen the way you think. You know, I had 2 staff members resign in the one day yesterday, and I think I was talking to you on that day. I mean, that could have been a really bad day. And I guess for me, you know, I've had life experiences, you know, people close to me dying and stuff like that. So for me, that's a great way to put a bit of perspective in your life. And really, did someone die? No, nobody died. Does it really matter? No, doesn't really matter. What's the worst that can happen here? The whole business will fold. Well, there you go. But really, it's once again, all of these tools are actually, we're not saying this is the reality, this is how life should be. It's more, here's a way of thinking about things that is more helpful than some other ways. And one of the ways that I think is really helpful to think about things is to just, you know, have a bit more fun with it. Just see the humour, not get too tied up in it, don't be significant about it. You know, you could be in some other reality, in some other timeline, in some other country, in some other universe. It's not that important.
That's a really, really good point. And then, you know, people that listen to the podcast know that Pete and I like to have fun with what we do. We like to enjoy our work, and we certainly enjoy doing this podcast. But it's a big thing, and it's one of the lessons that I've learned in my increasingly extensive years in business. As you say, lightness versus significance. Really, you know, how significant, how big a deal really is whatever it is that just happened.
Yeah.
You know, how bad can it get, or whatever. But
and you know, things like, I mean, classic examples are pushing the send button, and it's, oh my God, did it just go? You know, to like 30,000 people or something, and it's got the wrong link, or And people can get really wound up about that stuff.
Yeah, they do.
But, if you take a sort of a light or game or fun approach, and I'm actually seeing businesses do this quite a lot now. There's, I don't know if you know the support software Zendesk.
Yeah.
They have a great little video at the moment. It's hilarious. Shit support people say, that whole campaign of things people say. Anyway, they've got that on the front of their website. And it's just really light and humorous. It's so not significant about what they do. And I'm actually seeing this happening a lot now, people being much less significant and more, just easy with themselves and what they do.
Yeah, just showing a bit of humanity. I have a client. They sent out an email a while ago, and it had a duff link in it, and they wrote in it in the next email they sent out, "Oopsie." Yeah,
that's right.
It's like a bit of humanity, and they're actually well respected for that. They got a lot. The people that are their clients like that. They like that human side. And it's becoming more significant the more that the internet opens up us as entities, individuals, as well as businesses. There's a lot more personality out there now. So that's a really good point. So I'm really, really sorry to have to cut this one short. I'm really enjoying this call, and I really appreciate you coming on. So there's two things here, really. I mean, people out there listening to the call right now may have, hopefully, one of two reactions. They may either want to know more about coaching because they might be interested in getting in touch with a coach, but they also might even want to know more about coaching because they might want to use the knowledge and experience that they've got, like you did, to become a coach. So how can people find out more about coaching, and specifically because you've been kind enough to come on the call and give us such a great amount of information, how can people find out more about International Coach Academy and the things that you do there?
Yeah, well, of course they can go to our website, which is www.icoachacademy.com. Or, if you just Google Robyn Logan and coach training, you'll find it. So that's a way to find out. We've got some information, and we've got courses and things people can do to learn coaching skills or to become a coach. If you wanted to get a coach, I would probably go to the International Coach Federation, which is the peak body for coaching in the world, and they have chapters all around the world. And they also have a database of coaches that you can search. So they're the ICF for short, and I think their website is coachfederation.com or .org.
We'll look that up, and we'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, something like that. So you can go there and check that. Or, the other great way is just to find someone who's had a coach and ask them. And always if you're looking for a coach, make an appointment with 2 or 3 coaches and, have a session. Most coaches will do a complimentary initial session, which I would recommend because it really is that thing of it has to be a good fit. There's many, many different styles of coaching. So yeah, I would do that as well.
Great tips. And not quite coaching, but more consulting. I'm just gonna step in and give you a little bit of a help up because what we do on PreneurCast is that we help people promote themselves and drive traffic and business and things like that. All those things in the 7 levers and Preneur hierarchy. So I'm actually going to pick up on the fact that you really didn't big your organisation up very much there. We gave you a really big opportunity to big up what you do, and you've given a great example of the kind of things that you do in your courses, but you literally are a coaching academy. You teach people how to be coaches, and you have both online and kind of one-on-one interactive training that you do based around iCoachAcademy.com. It's a great model that you have, and you have students from all around the world.
Yeah, I can talk for hours about us if you want.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to go that far, but because
a bit more information then. If you wanted to become a coach, and we sort of have 2 main groups that come to us. We have people who really do want to change career. They've had enough. They're usually professionals with 1 or 2 careers behind them. They have some expertise, and in a range of niches. So we train in at least 9 niches: life coach, business executive, career coaching, spiritual coaching, youth coaching. So people in those areas who want to not do what they're doing now, perhaps they want more flexibility in their lives, or they want to work for themselves, but still use their expertise, they come and train with us to be professional coaches. And then they set up businesses as coaches and they take on clients. So that's one type of person that comes to us. Then the other sort is the sort of person who's wanting to add coaching skills to what they're already doing to do what they do better. So they might be a teacher and they want to add a coach approach, which is, sort of using all the tools we talked about today. Or they might be a consultant and they want to add coaching services to what they do. They could be a corporate trainer and they want to add coaching. We get a lot of real estate agents, surprisingly enough, who pretty much anyone who works with clients could do with a bit of a dose of coaching skills, really. So we get a lot of those people. And so our course is all online and flexible, but we run teleclasses, which are a bit like the tutorials, and we run about 80 of those a week in about 4 different time zones.
Did
so
you just say 80?
80, yeah, we have 80 classes a week.
Wow.
You know that. It's about 80. Yeah, the timetabling takes, like every time daylight savings changes, which it just did now, we have a full-time person who spends at least 3 full days sorting that out.
Now, are you blaming or are you taking responsibility there?
I'm celebrating.
that you've outsourced and delegated that properly.
I have someone who does that. Otherwise, if it was left to me, no one would be turning up to the right classes.
Excellent. Robyn, thank you so much. It's great. I mean, I just, that last bit there, it sounded a bit of a pimp, but it's important because I wanted people to realise that there's an opportunity for you to add those skills to your existing skill base. That's a really important point that I wanted to make sure people got. That you're not just about, coaching isn't just about being a coach as a full-time job, but you can also add these skills to benefit your day-to-day business in lots of different ways. So really, those power tools were fantastic. They're really great. Hopefully, we can maybe get you back on, and if we can talk some more things that map into the topics that Pete and I discuss on PreneurCast, and maybe Pete will join us next time as well, which would be great.
Well, that'd be great. I mean, seriously, I've got to meet this guy. We both live in Melbourne. It's nuts, so that would be really good. Yeah, I think
give or take, you stand on the side of the road and just wait for him to cycle past, But seriously, thank you.
This whole virtual world is very weird.
Yeah, it's very strange. But thank you, Robyn, for taking the time. I know it's a bit late where you are.
You're welcome.
I appreciate your time, and hopefully the listeners really got something from this call as well. So,
well, thanks for having me, Dom.
You're welcome, and we'll speak to you soon. Well, that was a great call with Robyn. I really enjoyed it, as hopefully you probably could tell. I was getting quite into that. What I was really, really interested in those power tools and how people can use them themselves without a coach. They don't need a coach to look at and use the power tools. And I guess that's our action step for the week, is to look at those power tools, to go back and review them, the ones that Robyn mentioned, and just reflect on them and see if you're doing any of those things. Blame versus responsibility, for example, and see if that can help you focus on what you want to achieve and achieve it. And obviously, a secondary action step is, if you think a coach would be useful to you, to follow up on the leads that Robyn gave you and go look for one. See if you can hire one to help you out and to focus on your goals and to achieve them. As usual, this show was sponsored by both Read It For Me and Audible Books, and we're grateful to that sponsorship. Just to recap, Read It For Me is a book review service, although Pete and I, as I've mentioned frequently, also don't just use it to look at books that we might want to read and to very quickly get an overview of what's in that book. We also use it to remind us of some of the great content in books that we already have read. because the notes that are inside of Read It For Me, the membership service, are fantastic. They're multimedia, learning and memory-oriented notes. And it's a fantastic service. If you visit readit4.me/PreneurCast, you can get a discount on the membership as well as a free trial. And on that page is a video showing Pete and I going through the membership area, showing you exactly what you get inside. So pop over there and have a look at that. Great way to kind of cover all the new and big business and personal development books. And certainly a lot of the ones that we talk about on the podcast are already in there. If you want to consume the actual book itself, and you want to do that in an efficient manner, one of the ways Pete and I do that is through listening to audiobooks. And Audible is one of the leaders in that service. They have over 100,000 titles. And if you go to audibletrial.com/PreneurCast, you can get a free trial for their service, and you can get a token to download one title from their service for free, which is great. And that's, again, a membership service, monthly membership. And both Pete and I use that to consume whole business and personal development books. And they also have fiction in there as well. So it's a great overall service for anybody who likes reading or just consuming information. So thanks to those two sponsors for this week. And again, thanks to Robyn Logan. That was a really interesting insight from somebody who really does know a lot about coaching and how coaching can help. And it's maybe something you haven't thought about up until now, but hopefully that's opened your eyes and given you another resource to help you grow your business. Pete's back next week. I won't do that prediction thing where we say what we're going to talk about, because he could talk about anything. But hopefully everyone enjoyed this show. Really looking forward to the feedback on this one on the blog over at preneurmedia.tv or in the iTunes comments. Please do give us your feedback. Let us know how you're finding what we're coming up with. If you like these interviews particularly, we can go and find more people to talk to if you're finding them useful, or if there's any topic you want us to talk about. This show's gone on a little bit longer than usual, but I think it's definitely worth it. So I'll leave it at that and see you all next week with Pete.
You've been enjoying another fine episode of PreneurCast with Pete Williams and Dom Gaucher. Make sure to hang out with the boys online at PreneurMedia.tv or drop them a line via PreneurCast@PreneurGroup.com.